And now to business stories. South Africa's rand was slightly weaker in early trade on Tuesday, ahead of release of key business cycle indicator, which is expected to reveal hints about the country's economic health. The rand was trading at 18.59 per dollar, down 0.1% from its previous close, with the dollar last trading at 102.56, up 0.07%. Meanwhile, South Africa's benchmark 2030 government bond was weaker in earlier deals, with a yield up 6.5 basis points at 9.71%. And to talk about these, I'm being joined live on the news by independent economist Professor Bonke Dumisa. Good morning. Glad to have you join me, Professor Bonke.
Glad to talk to you and your listeners and your audience of News Central.
Okay, now how does the weakness of rand impact South Africa's economy, particularly in the context of the economic indicators?
Okay, let me explain what happens when you are trading currencies across the board, especially with South African rand. You look at the global economic indicators, not market indicators yet. So you look at what makes a particular product more expensive and a product less expensive. But you also look at the geopolitical issues, and they are very important. If we look at the South African rand, at the beginning of this year, 2023, it on the 4th of January, it opened at 16 rands 95 to the US dollar. And in 2 weeks' time, it strengthened further to 16 rands 77 to the US dollar. And yet today we are saying the rand is actually better at 18 rands 30 to the US dollar. And yet you see that we've already lost more than 2 rand something since the beginning of the year. During the year, after the 12th of May, when the US ambassador to South Africa, I'm not going to mention his name, said that South Africa was selling arms to Russia, we saw the South African rand weakening to about 19 rands 65 to the US dollar. So you can see that there is some weaponization of the US dollar and the weaponization of trade in setting the foreign exchange levels of the rand and other currencies.
All right, Prof.
So yes.
Yeah, if I may just quickly chip in, the apologies to cut you short, but beyond what you have mentioned, what are some of the key factors contributing to this depreciation of the rand?
Yes, okay. One of the issues that you have got to take into consideration is the mineral prices. As it is now, the mineral prices are quite high. I mean, we've seen the gold price going up to 2,044 US dollars per ounce, and we are seeing the rand strengthening in response to that. Why is there a correlation between the two? It is because South Africa, even though it's no longer the highest and the top producer of gold in Africa and the world, but it is the second largest producer of gold in Africa. So when the prices of minerals go up, then the rand strengthens. But when the prices of minerals go down, then the rand also weakens. And that is also affected by other things. We buy our crude oil in US dollars. So when the price of international Brent crude oil increases significantly, it means we are going to spend more US dollars to buy that, which means we are going to get rid of more South African rands. That weakens the rand. So those are some of the things then that we take into consideration where we try to predict where the rand is going to be tomorrow or next week. And unfortunately, it's a highly volatile market, as I've already indicated, that it has moved about 3 rands from its start at the beginning of January 2023 to what we have now.
Yeah, having stated this, Prof, how do you think this affects South Africa's economy, such as exports, import, and also tourism?
Okay. Some people say, and yes, it is true, when the rand is at its weakest, then it does attract more tourists to the country. However, the problem with that is you are attracting the tourists who are not really going to spend much money on. You're not attracting the rich tourists. The rich tourists do not mind the exchange rate. What they want is they want to get the real tourism value when they go to the country. And those are the people we must attract. So I don't buy this thing that our currency has got to be weak for us to attract tourists. But when it comes to our export as well, if ever the rand is weak, some countries and some people may buy more of our products. But what is happening there is you're no longer selling the product, you are actually involved in foreign exchange. So we must have our products to compete with other products, with other countries on quality, not quantity. So I'm not buying that one, then that our rand must be weaker for us to increase our exports. However, when it comes to imports, we are very much happy if the rand is stronger, because it means less money is going to flow from South Africa to other countries.
I must sincerely thank you for your time on the news. That's the most we can take. Thank you so much for joining me on the news, Professor Bonke Dumisa, independent economist. Thank you so much.
Thank you.